Okay, here we are. So it's 3 o'clock. This is kind of on paper anyway. It could be our big show. Could be the longer show. We don't really put a time stamp on this thing or a time limit. But normally we're Monday to Friday at 12 noon Pacific. Right now, 3 o'clock on the west coast of Canada, where both Blake in Victoria, myself in Nanaimo reside. Lots of stuff going on in the world. We're here to cover it. We don't have the benefit of having Sue to do any of the heavy lifting with the links today. I'll try and mumble along as best I can with a few stories that I was able to scrounge up. And you've been extremely busy. You were saying that you were in meetings all day, and you didn't even have time to really see what kind of nonsense is going on in the world out there. And believe you me, there's a lot of nonsense. They've elected, I guess, a Muslim mayor in New York.
Did he actually get elected? He actually won?
I believe so. Yeah. Como went and, he was up against one of the Comos. I think it was the one that was New York mayor before. But anyway, he said he conceded. And so anyway, Islam is alive and well in New York City. So
another. They just went to London. It became the London of North America.
Yeah, Sadiq Khan over there. Yeah. Sir Sadiq, of course, he was recently knighted. Fantastic. I mean, it's just nonsense. It's clown world, and but here we are. At least we're alive to tell the tale, Blake. So. Lots of stories brewing. Let's cry. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 little links here, stories to do. Let's go to everyone's favorite, Tampon Tim, Tampon Timmy. And so Tampon Tim is going to be investigated, is the story. Let's share it, and we'll take a look and see what we got here. Libs of TikTok, breaking, Department of Justice filed a complaint against Tim Walz for Minnesota laws providing in-state tuition benefits for illegal aliens. You can't support with American taxpayer money to give it, willy-nilly to, quote, illegal aliens. The Department of Justice just won on this exact issue in Texas. We look forward to taking this fight to Minnesota in order to protect the rights of American citizens first. This is the very essence of MAGA, Make America Great Again. This is Attorney General Pam Bondi speaking. So there's Tim with that, forlorn. He's kind of cute. He's got a little puppy-like expression there.
A little deer in headlights as well.
He's got a little bit of that going. You're absolutely right about that.
Sort of that look of shock.
Yeah. So yeah.
Like, what the heck am I doing here? Look.
So, yeah, obviously, to me, this is the essence of MAGA. Put America's people first and not just immigrants, but illegal immigrants. And that's the distinction to make. Go ahead. Give me some thoughts on this. It's great to see. I guess they already won in Texas. Looks like Minnesota's going to lose this one, too.
Well, good. Tim Walz is just another Looney Tunes progressive that poses as something that he's not, and I think voters are getting.
Well, what do you mean by that? What do you mean he poses? What isn't he like?
Well, yeah, the way he's acted and saying the things that he's done in his past and his history doesn't line up with what he has professed
he's
in
been
his history.
Accused of what's called stolen valor. He was out there Rambo-like, with a knife in his teeth, running in there, pulling Marines out of Beirut or something. I heard that story that he inflated his military record. I don't think he ever left U.S. soil.
Yeah, and I don't. He definitely. I think it was his actual rank. He lied about his rank.
I don't know all the details, on this.
I'd have to pull it up right now. We don't have Mrs. Producer to quickly find it.
Yeah, we don't have to. We have to do that. We got to do all the heavy lifting ourselves.
That's right.
But anyway, very nice to see Tim Walz going to be investigated, and they're going to lose on this. This is kind of small potatoes in some ways because there's so many big stories going on. Of course, none bigger right now. I think the crown jewel in the political dialogue today is we've entitled this episode Obliterated, okay? Trump is claiming that the precision strikes were deadly accurate. There were 12 30,000-pound bombs dropped. It just laser beam guided, perfect trajectories, massive damage. Some I don't know how, like 2 miles below the surface, unbelievable destruction. Israel has now come out saying, yeah, the place is no more. Iran has come out and said it's no more. And I just saw a report that Pete Hegseth is going to be having a conference tomorrow talking about the effectiveness of these strikes. Let me go here.
And they were going on about it yesterday too. There's been some debate if there was anything actually
report.
hit.
Yeah. Did you hear about the leaked report?
Exactly. Where they said that photograph should never have been leaked either, showing the before and after result.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you also that the DOJ is investigating that. They feel that it's probably a member of Congress that leaked that photo, that information out.
That'd be the Intel committee, someone there.
Yes, to CNN. It was leaked to CNN, the usual suspects, right?
Yeah.
And Trump's going after the CNN reporter. She's kind of cute, a little cutie female, but she was also big and was one of the outspoken voices on the Hunter Biden thing. She was in on that as, we've got the evidence, and it's all Russian disinfo. Of course, proved later to be patently false. But let's take a look at our good friend Cat Turd. I love Cat Turd. Let's go all big here for Cat Turd. Let's see what's going on. Secretary of Defense, Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, together with military. And this is Trump, by the way. Trump put that in, right? I just love him. Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, together with military representatives, will be holding a major news conference tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time, going to be 5 o'clock in the morning for you and me, Blake, at the Pentagon in order to fight for the dignity of our great American pilots. These patriots were very upset after 36 hours of dangerously flying through enemy territory. They landed. They knew the success was legendary. And then 2 days later, they started reading fake news by CNN and the failing New York Times. They felt terribly. Fortunately for them, and as usual, solely for the purpose of demeaning President Donald J. Trump, the fake news Times and CNN lied and totally misrepresented the facts, none of which they had because it was too soon. There were no facts out there yet. The news conference will prove both interesting and irrefutable. Enjoy. Mm-hmm. So, there's no mistaking the president's confidence in that tweet. We now know that Israel's confirmed it. And in fact, Trump was over talking with the NATO leaders, our Mark Carney, our beloved Mark Carney was there. And CNN was there. Caitlin Collins asked a question. He goes, oh, God. He goes, hey, CNN, just watch this question. He goes, but, it was, the same kind of thing, all this bullshit. But he goes and listen, it was obliterated. It was, destroyed. There's nothing there. And it's going to be happening. Sean Howard, welcome back. Blake, we missed you yesterday.
Thanks, Sean.
Blake. Yeah, we missed you.
Great show, by the way, yesterday. I watched it afterwards. So,
well, we sure missed you. You make the job better. You make the show better. Because you have your own perspective on these things. You bring a lot to the table, a lot of information, a lot of knowledge. So anyway, turning towards this thing, it looks like Iran, Israel, the United States, separately with their own initial evaluation. Now I think there's been more time to look. And there's going to be some sort of announcement made tomorrow. It sounds extremely interesting. There is a lot going on in the Middle East, and news is breaking in that region almost by the hour. So tomorrow, what do you think is going to be discussed? What do you think the thrust of the message is going to be?
I quite frankly, I hope it's a huge leap forward for Middle East peace. I think if it's regarding this whole Israeli-Iran war, that that not only is that at peace, that there's some kind of movement within Iran to stop entirely and reverse course and become part of what a civilization in the world again, and stop being the purveyors of terrorism and destabilization. But what's interesting, I kind of want to comment on the people, the bots, and the people have been running the show about questioning the validity of the damage done.
Yes.
And I heard a really good report actually this morning. It's the only time I was able to kind of listen to a podcast. Is actually Alex Jones hit some really good, solid points on this.
Yeah, Alex came in for some criticism over this as well, because
he was only worried about the World War III going nuclear, right? That was kind of his thing. He's been a big supporter of Trump. He's been MAGA all the way. But his point is that the neocon bots, he calls them, they're basically attacking people online on X, and then you're seeing this in the media, that there's this orchestrated effort to get boots on the ground, and they're all mad that Trump's not going on the ground. And he basically put his foot down and basically told Israel with a pretty good angry word, I won't say it here, but he basically gave them shit for continuing to do heavy bombardments when they're supposed to be ceasing operations.
Yeah.
But they kept hitting and got hitting harder. So I think he basically behind the scenes just said afterwards, like, cool it, stop it, I'm putting into it. But you got the Lindsey Grahams yapping in the Senate, doing his little, read a board kind of stuff that you can see all the reasons why you should invade Iran again. And it's all the same suspects, Mark Levin, all these guys that are all pumping the drums of war, boots on the ground. And that's who it sounds like, or behind all this, oh, you didn't do it. There's not, they're still there. They still have their weapons of mass destruction. They're still trying to ramp up, people to support an invasion and physical regime change. I think what you're going to hear, if anything, is Trump is trying to negotiate a deal with Iran to say, okay, you're opening yourselves up to the world. We want you to be successful. You want you to be your people free, but you're going to have to cool it. And maybe there's enough leadership revolt within Iran to say, yeah, we're done with this too. We want to make money. We want to have good lives for our families. This is ridiculous to let these extremists running our country moving forward. Yeah. And anybody who's funding that as well from the outside should be targeted. And hopefully that will end it. Because I think that's Israel's biggest concern is, again, Iran has been the biggest purveyor of arming all of these, what you would call them, proxy entities, to continue to cause damage.
I got some good news for you on that front. There's a breaking news story. We'll bring that up just a sec. But I want to again remind you, because I want to prompt you on this. What was the main, and here's the operative word, thrust of Hesketh? What do you think is going to be the main thrust from Hesketh tomorrow?
I hope the end of the war. I think that's what he's pushing. He's going to there's got to be some kind of economic stability for everybody.
Do you know, it's interesting that like the war, there is no war. It's a 12-day war. It's over. There is no war. I think that's important to recognize right away. There is no war. Okay. So I know you're a big fan of Batman. And we're talking, the word thrust is where I wanted to go. So I got this great Batman thing. And this episode of Batman was known as The Thrust of Manhood. And we're going to play it here.
To the alley.
You know something, Batman?
What's that, Robin?
She looks very pretty when she's asleep.
I thought you might eventually notice that. That single statement indicates to me the first oncoming thrust of manhood, old chum.
Yeah, well, that's incredible. So we got Hesketh going tomorrow with what will be the main thrust, but just think about the thrust of manhood always. I thought this time might come. A little chump. Anyway, fantastic. Good news for Robin. The first stirrings of
Yeah.
man, the thrust of man.
Lucky guy.
Oh my God. And the whole thing just cracked me out. I saw that come across, I watched that. I said, that's hilarious. All right, let's sober it up a bit. Okay, so we got this one here. Hang on. This is an interesting. Okay, here we go. Get this. Copy this. And again, I miss Sue's hand at the wheel for all this, but this is a good one too that came up. All right. This is under the category Holy Shite, the guy writes. Clandestine is the account. And let's go. We'll go here. We'll go up here. And we'll make this big. Holy shit is happening. Trump envoy Steve Witkoff teases a big announcement that new nations will soon be signing on to the Abraham Accords, including nations we never would have contemplated. Trump is about to secure peace in the Middle East. Let's hear what the envoy.
One of the president's key objectives is that the Abraham Accords be expanded, that more countries come into it, and we are working on that on my team and in coordination with the Secretary of State and the entire State Department. And we think we're going to have some pretty big announcements on countries that are now coming into the Abraham Peace Accords. And we're hoping for normalization across an array of countries that maybe people would have never contemplated would come in. So we're excited for that prospect. That will also be a stabilizer in the Middle East. One of the presidents.
All right. So very interesting development. So more nations coming on, some you never would have thought. Maybe Yemen. Do you think would that be possible? That would be a surprise. Syria. There's any number of countries in the region that could possibly sign on to this. Saudi Arabia has already signed on. Morocco signed on. I believe Bahrain has signed on. So there's a number. I think Egypt might already be involved with that. But there are other countries in the Middle East that are willing to sign on, according to Witkoff. So interesting. What do you think?
Well, that would make sense, because if there's peace in the Middle East and we can finally at least get somewhat of a lasting peace, that would line up with Trump's goals to make energy cheaper again, because that would help, because now you've got no threat of war in the region. That would make sense. Now you got oil coming. Now you can start selling American products into the Middle East. Maybe they can fix things up where people aren't killing each other and making volatile markets, making dollars go topsy-turvy, people panicking in the marketplace. We need people to understand that they don't have to worry that warheads are going to be flying over their heads and dirty bombs being launched in their backyard by terrorists. Iran would be the one to watch. Maybe they've agreed. Maybe that's part of the deal of the ceasefire. Like, let's bring you into the club. We can only hope that Yemen will just follow suit, because that's where the Houthis are, right? They're part of the problem there, and they were a surrogate proxy group funded by Iran. So if they can stop those guys, bring them in, that kind of ends that.
Wouldn't that be kind of a shot, kind of a rebuke of all those that was, it's going to be nuclear war, World War III's here. And if you bring Iran on board or on side, or if they sign on to this, I mean, that would be nothing short of a miracle.
Yeah, well, there were some weird things that happened throughout the 12-day war. I guess we could call it that now.
Yeah.
You had Pakistan rallying up for nuking and destroying and obliterating Israel. At the same time, their leader was nominating Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah, he has been officially nominated. He's been nominated before. Now, my own thinking about the Nobel Peace Prize, Blake, is that it's really meaningless.
It is.
It's kind of award that these elites, they give to themselves to pat each other on the back for being true to the messaging, to the narrative that they want projected. And I think the whole thing is been defaced and degraded. When Obama won his Peace Prize for basically being elected as president of the United States, that's all he did. It was like 3 weeks into his administration to his first term, the guy got the Nobel Peace for what? Right?
Well, that's why I said it was so odd that, I don't know if they're just jokingly trying to mock them, saying if Trump brought the Abraham Accords to expand across the Middle East and for essentially bringing peace into the Middle East, for at least the term we can see to the future now, that should be a given, an automatic. He should have been given that when he was able to do it in 2016, where people argued he basically stopped ISIS. He brought, Saudi Arabia and the rest of the countries back into the table and part of the Abraham Accord.
Arabia. Remember the language? It was like Little Rocket Man. He was dealing with the Saudi prince.
Yeah.
And Trump was giving him a real hard time in social media. I forget he has nicknames for all this guy. He gave this guy a nickname. And eventually, it wasn't long. It took him about a month to get him under control. And then the next thing you know, the Saudis were treating Trump with a lot of respect. And of course, we just saw last month, speaking of this peace accord, where the president came into Saudi Arabia and the beast, the heavy armored limo that he's in, and they had horses and palm trees all lit up. It was like a royal promenade. They put out the purple carpet for him. It wasn't even a red carpet. They put out purple for him, kind of, a royal color, right? That they were treating this guy with a lot of respect. And of course, we're seeing that again, the way the NATO was talking today, the head of NATO, I forget the Belgian character. I'm not a fan of this guy. But he was just, your administration and your policies, you've made this happen. We're all coughing up more money. He goes, I think it's going to be to the tune of trillions of dollars. We got Carney in Canada, where you and I are located.
Yeah.
Saying Canada, we're going to be giving 5% of our GMP to it. I'm just laughing because, we got no money. And what little we have, we seem to be giving to women's reproductive rights in Biafra.
That's right.
There you have it.
Well, there's a lot to cover there because, you could see now if Iran, remember, Trump went to North Korea. He went there and met with Rocket Man. And it was the first time a president had stepped on the grounds of North Korea and actually met with their leadership and basically got them in control. So he wasn't a threat to cause nuclear destabilization into Asia. So here we've got, if he could do the same with Iran, and again, I'm speculating, this means if Iran was brought in to be a player and opened up and became trading with the rest of the world, sanctions dropped, stop being the assholes of the Middle East and killing people and causing destabilization. That means that if Hamas disappears, they have no more funding. Hezbollah. Well, no, Hezbollah, I'm thinking out of Lebanon.
Both of them, I know, but both, all these like Hamas.
Well, I was going to cover Lebanon next, but in the Palestinian side, the Hamas disappears, who is funded by them. The Houthis disappear out of Yemen, and then if Lebanon can return to being the Iranian Revolution, because it was prior to with the Iranian Revolution, all of a sudden chaos and civil war started break out, which was also funding the PLO at the time, who also invaded and fell back all the way to Tripoli, caused all kinds of chaos. And then you had this mass civil war break out into Lebanon. But Lebanon used to be the Riviera, the French Riviera of that part of the world. I mean, there was the most wild and high-end hotels and resorts. It was a very wealthy place, and it was turned into trash by all of the civil war and all this. But just imagine if that could all come back. I mean, Lebanon's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
And you could bring peace into that level. Then you might not have so much turmoil when people are making money. And of course, Syria has to stabilize after a civil war too, which is, again, triggered by this Sunni Shia
they
battle, which is
destabilized.
also argued that maybe the Clinton destabilizing regime change stuff caused that problem. So yeah, I mean, Trump could look like an obvious candidate, and this would expose those guys right away if they didn't give it to him for bringing peace to that area for that award, because that would be ridiculous if they didn't. Would end them, I think, too, as well as any credibility, even what shred they have left.
Love Trumpy Bear, and a lot of what we're seeing, people have said it's like we're watching a movie, Blake, that a lot of stuff is played out. Like, and all this talk of Iran's, they're going to counterattack. Well, how are they going to retaliate? What is the retaliation going to take place? How is it going to look? Are there Iran sleeper cells? Are they activated now? We're all going to die. But here's Trump talking about the reality of it. President Trump, let me make sure this is big enough for you kids. It's not right now. Let's get big. Okay, that's good enough. You can read. President Trump literally confirms it was all kayfabe with Iran. Iran was very nice. They gave us warning. They said we're going to shoot them. Is 1 o'clock okay?
Didn't we talk about that? You and I talked about that.
We talked about this. And everyone was emptied off the base so they couldn't get hurt. Come on, you got to admit, this is a pretty weird thing to say coming from a terror regime, right? Trump put Iran in check in 2018. We're watching a clandestine military operation take place. Let's go here and let the president. Hang on there, Mr. President. We love you, but we want it all done properly. And we'll go big here. All right, let's hear him.
You saw that where 14 missiles were shot at us the other day. And they were very nice. They gave us warning. They said, we're going to shoot them. Is 1 o'clock okay? They said, it's fine. And everybody was emptied off the base, so they couldn't get hurt except for the gunners. They call them the gunners. And out of 14 high-end missiles that were shot at the base in Qatar, all 14, as you know, were shot down by our equipment. Amazing stuff. Amazing that they can do. It's like shooting a bullet with a bullet. It's the same thing if you think about it. 14 out of 14, and they weren't even that surprised. I said, do you do that well often? They say, we pretty much do, sir. The Ukraine crisis has also highlighted the urgency of rebuilding.
All right. So the word was given, 1 o'clock, we're going to attack. So the U.S. was given a heads up again. This is Iran. Basically, it's almost something you would associate with the Chinese in a traditional face-saving gesture. We're going to do something just so we don't look like a bunch of wussies over here. But just so you know, it's going to happen here. We aren't looking for trouble. Apart from all the saber rattling that, Khomeini was doing and that kind of talk, right?
Well, we said a few days ago, I thought just that this would happen because, I knew that the Iranians would not be that insane to actually hit an American base or sink a ship. But we still got to watch out for any false flaggers out there because they really don't like what Trump's doing and they'll try and draw him into a ground war still. So just be very cautious of what you hear in the media as certain attacks. But I think he's got it. He's nailed them down. They're playing ball. This isn't new. This happened to my sister. She was a UN peacekeeper for Canada. She was in an area called Visoko, where the UN Canadian troops were stationed. When NATO started to bomb the crap out of Serbian positions in Bosnia, the order had come down to a local Serbian commander to annihilate the UN base. And what ended up happening was the commander came down and told them, I've been ordered to do this. And so Stan, I don't want to do this, but I got to put on a show. And so anyways, they fired off all their artillery and it landed about 500 to 1,000 yards past the base into a field.
Yeah.
and so that's that saving face that they had to show that they did what they were ordered to do. They fired upon them, but they missed.
Yeah.
Which had they hit that base, it would have been full tilt war on.
I think there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that we're not privy to. Like when Trump was in Saudi Arabia last month, was anything agreed to then? Maybe there was some deals and some talk and some information being passed at that time that we're not privy to. Beak, we love you. This Sunday on my music show, I want to say thank you. I got some beautiful, what we call in the vinyl community love train. Absolutely gorgeous silver dollar kind of. It's got this emblazoned gold shot Billy Bishop, and it's Canada World War II commemorative coin of the training program. Of course, the Commonwealth training program that we had in World War II with ANSYS for twin engine bomber training, and the venerable Harvard, we call them T6 Texans in the U.S. But Pika, just absolutely lovely, and a beautiful silver necklace that Sue was wearing on the last Patreon. We do have Patreon, so big shout out to you. And also to Sarah the Raging Tomatoes dropped by. This is an amazing channel. Sarah, your topic, Sue and I were talking about some of the great topics you've had, Mormonism. Oh, I got somebody at the door. Blake, anyway, are you subscribed to Sarah? If not, it's called The Raging Tomato. It's a great channel. You got to be subscribed. I'll be right back. Blake, run the show.
Okay, sounds good. So I can't really pull up any of the comments there, but I'd love to be able to share what some of you are saying. But we'll just wait for Rachel to come back. But yeah, fascinating times we're in right now. We're hoping that tomorrow we'll hear a bigger announcement for greater peace in the Middle East. And if that happens, it will be exciting. I think, I think we all hope for that. No more wars. We know inevitably there will be one somewhere, but at least let's try and contain it to this point that there's no more war. But I think this answers most of. Hopefully there'll be unity within the MAGA side now over if that there's no more fighting, and I think that's the biggest thing is that we didn't want to see America get and some of the NATO allies that we have another front, boots on the ground, another Afghanistan, maybe on steroids, or the threat of nuclear war. So it looks like we have hopefully some promising news tomorrow.
Yeah, and it's going to be early, like 5 o'clock Pacific. But anyway, I was just because somebody was at the door. It was Amazon giving me a treat. This is Paul Thomas Anderson's film, Phantom Thread. Sue really wanted to watch this thing. He did Boogie Nights, Blake, the director that did Boogie Nights, Punch Drunk Love, Coffee and Cigarette. He has done a lot of stuff. Anyway, happy to have that. We'll probably watch that. We're also watching the story of David, the House of David on Prime. It's a biblical story of King David and all that. It's incredible. But going back to Sarah for a bit, lately she did one story was Joseph Smith a real prophet, right? The founder of the Mormons, right? The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Mormons, great folks, but boy, they got some kind of crazy, some ideas. 1832, Joseph Smith gets going. And then she's done some stuff about Christianity in general and gender relationships, this sort of idea. Really just absolutely fascinating. And she's got great guests and knowledgeable people. And it's a lot of fun over there. I cannot promote this lady enough. I'm going to grab a link for her. The Raging Tomato. Hang on there with me, kids. Tomato. Now, normally Sue would have been all over this right away. There she is. And that music going already when you go over there. Anyway, she's got great intros, great, and also, and you'll like this, Blake, she's easy on the eyes. You may feel the thrust of manhood when you watch the Raging Tomato. And if you miss the thrust of manhood, that's a little Batman clip we played earlier. But holy smokes, Rachel, you owe us a Patreon straight after this. Are you kidding me, Loki? You're going to be in bed sleeping. Holy smokes, Loki, when will you figure out that I'm nowhere near the minister? Absolutely true. I'm a debate platform, and indeed she is. Okay, now stop fucking ignoring your paying customers. You don't know what you're fucking doing. Hold on. You're sounding an awful lot like my beloved president, Donald John Trump. Just love it.
Sounds like Loki's looking for reparations.
Yeah. Sarah's wonderful, Loki, and I expect a full apology. The next time Sarah's doing a show, I want you to go over there and go, Sarah, I was very rude on the Rachel's Ghost program. I feel very chastened and I apologize. Sarah, we love you. Loki, settle down. It's never, we're trying to get peace in the world. You guys, what is going to happen? You're going to have an insurrection in a Capitol building? Wait, what's this? Did you hear about that? Of course, the protesters are all coming in there. They busted into, I don't know which, I don't know if it was DC, but they just flew in. Rachel, you ruined Patreon yesterday because of your guest that nobody wanted to see. Fuckers. What? Hold on, Loki. Your language is getting out of control. Where's that egg dropper dono link, Rach? Oh my gosh. I tell you, lovely, lovely girl. We're not monetized. Nothing's happened that way. I doubt if we ever will. But I got to tell you, Sarah, I think you're a subscriber over on the Patreon. You come over there one of these days. I just love you. And you're just the best. What can I tell? I'm a fan. But she's got a really great show. And Sue and I watch it and we have a lot of fun. You settle down, Williams. Sort out your priorities. I will kick your ass, Williams. Look out. Loki getting fired up. But we had over on the Patreon, I do have a Patreon if anybody wants to join that and support the thing. Hang on, I'll get that going. There's never a dull moment. Anyway, I'm glad you liberal heroes have decided to join us over here. Yeah, we had Flow on Sunday morning, Sarah. I do a public show on the old channel. Well, kind of the second, Ghost 2, and the music channel, and it's open to everybody, right? 7 o'clock Pacific. So you're in the East. So, so 8, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, your time Sunday. That'll allow you to sleep in a little bit. And we did have Flo stayed on, or he's got a new name for himself. I forget what he's calling himself. But anyway, that's there. Sarah's Amora. Stop it, Loki. You're out of control. Mr. Conyers. Mr. Conyers. Remember Conyers in the Senate? Holy smokes. Didn't you have a buy me a coffee link before? Give me that link. I haven't even activated that over here. That's not a bad idea because I know Loki would like to be involved with that. Wouldn't that be nice, Blake, if Loki could buy us a coffee?
That's right. I could go for a coffee.
Yeah, no, Sarah.
Add a little Kahlua to it or something too.
We just aren't set up with anything. Can you replace Blake with Melody? No, Blake is going nowhere. Okay, Blake is he's my partner here. Not that kind of partner. We're talking points, okay? And we're having a good time doing it. God, you gotta love these kids. They're
love the insults too. Keep them coming.
Holy smokes, they are fired up.
Just remember, the more you keep yapping, and the better it is for the algorithm.
Okay. It's kind of interesting. I'm having you don't have to activate, just drop the link in chat. I don't even have a link created for it. I don't even know where it is. I'd have to start it up again. I really did. I killed everything, Sarah, you beautiful lady. Holy smokes, I'm heating up. Maybe because Sarah's here. Who knows? Maybe because Loki's here. Help, I was like I'm in a straitjacket trying to get this thing off. All right. A lot of people say I should be in one, but okay, hang on. Oh, there we go. Oh, that's good. There we go. Loosen her up. Okay, I got eggs to send. Send me the egg link for the love of God. Sarah, you got to wait. Maybe another day. I just thank you. I love you. It's the thought that counts. Isn't that the old saying, Blake? Yeah. Let's do some fun with Carrie Lake. I like Carrie Lake a lot. Arizona.
The great state of Arizona.
Yeah. A lot of stuff about her we can't even talk about because it's one of the areas YouTube doesn't like us talk about. But this
Arizona? Really?
Oh, well, yeah. But anyway, Carrie Lake, laugh, MJ Truth Ultra. Okay, let's see if the kids can see this. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Okay, here we go. I remember when the media said you had a gay lover, nervous outburst. I move on. Those words, stricken. Did someone actually admit they liked a sword fight? Let's take a look here. What the
But
hell?
those kind of lies, and you said those were.
Hold
I would
on.
hope
Let's
that you
hear
would.
it go.
I would hope that you would not be okay with that. They could literally put out a lie about anybody here, and I know you've been the victim of that. I know you've been the victim. I remember the stories about you where they said you had a gay lover, and those were going out all
Mr.
over.
Chair,
Chairman.
Can I?
I
finish
hope
the story?
you honor what you just gave as a caution to everyone, and I moved those words be
To
spent.
tell you that those kind of lies, and you said
rule
those
if
were
you want.
lies. Those kind of. I would hope that you would not.
Remember when they said you had a gay lover? I just love that. I mean, that thing.
Mr. Speaker. No.
Yeah, well, that was Jerry Nadler. Little,
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Holy fuck. Yeah,
There he is. He kind of looks like a thumb.
holy fuck. Little Jerry, but you see me recently, he did a public speech, I think in New York. So, and the podium was, he was hidden behind it, but you could barely see the little guy. He's so cute.
Wasn't he Penguin? He's a Penguin from Batman.
That's Burgess Meredith, a legendary actor. Similar to Nadler, maybe in terms of he's a short guy. Hey, you haven't heard the last of this. You better take it seriously. Holy smokes, Loki, you're all fired up. Well, maybe, just maybe after this, I might do a Patreon for you, Loki. Just hold on. We'll just see how the old knee. I've been working out, but I tell you, this right knee of mine, I got the left knee. I've got a small meniscal tear, they call it, meniscus tear. And then this thing, it seems to be like a tendon, like a tendonitis or something. So today I went on the bike, did 2 hours, and now I got to stop for a bit. I got to take a break. Oh, new low on the scale, 244. 244 was the number today. So 244.6. We got to throw some grams, and unfortunately, but 244. Happy with that. Things are moving along. We're doing, we're making progress.
Going in the right direction.
I got to get down to my Butterfield 8 weight.
Jeez, I better pick it up too. You're going to catch up to me soon, and I'll because I've been trying to drop about another 25 pounds.
Well, how much do you mind? How much do you weigh now?
I had 229.
229. That's good.
Yeah, I was up 280 some odd pounds back about almost 10 years ago.
You were never a skinny type guy.
Not when we've known each other in the 1990s, but I also had a really bad problem with my knees as well.
Oh, don't blow those knees out.
Yeah, and I used to play sports a lot when I was younger, so I did a lot of damage playing football, basketball, where the two big they kneecapped me, literally. Sports, it did a lot of damage to my legs. But
you love football, and your son was playing football. I remember he was good at it.
Yeah.
And
later.
You were the coach and everything.
An assistant coach, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
well,
the Gordon Head Raiders.
You were in management. Let's put it that way. Holy smoke! But it's great to work out to lose the weight. But some people like if you saw who was Al Roker, guys like that, and who was funny. He looked like Mr. Weatherby. He was like NBC's the weatherman, and he was heavy set. And then Willard Scott. And then he got all skinny. Willard Scott looked better when he had some weight. Like God wanted that guy to have a little meat on him. Some people look,
and also their voice. They lose some meat behind their voice, and you see that with singers that lost a lot of weight. They all of a sudden lose that power.
Yeah, God rest Meatloaf, because it could have been a career ender.
Yeah.
Let me sleep on it. Baby, let me sleep on it. But anyway, holy smokes, Meatloaf. He's gone now. We lost him.
Didn't he die on stage too?
Did he pass out on stage?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he stroked out on the stage.
No.
I thought there was something like that.
No.
And same with yeah, I think he did. I'm trying to recall. Well, I'm sure the Peanut Gallery will let us know.
Music. We got so many musical experts. Loki, Tio, I know you're an expert when it comes to musical topics. Anyway, Carrie Lake having some fun with Jerry Nadler. But it's so funny because the guy gets so upset. Like, why the outrage? If you're not gay, right? If the guy wasn't gay, then he wouldn't give a fuck. Like, he'd just laugh, Because she's saying, I remember when the media reported, and they came up with a rumor that you had a gay lover. I want that stricken. That's a horrible lie, said Jerry Adler. That's awful. Jerry, just stop it, Carrie Lake, you batch. You batch. Say it like that. Anyway, I think it's horrible. Carrie Lake, do better.
Nice one from Raging Tomatoes. Jeffrey Dahmer would like you to be meatier too.
Oh my God. My good friend Andy Perez coming in. I'm not going to have a stroke today, Governor. Holy smokes, Bruce Stern. Blake, very few people do a good Bruce Stern. I'm one of the few that actually can pull it up.
You do it great.
When you do your Bruce Stern, people sit up and they notice. They notice something good's happening with Bruce Stern. Carrie Lake is a nutsack. Well, at least she doesn't have a gay lover. Holy smokes. The kids are fired up today.
Yeah, it's a happy hump day.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so now there's this channel called Robert Govia Esquire. This is a pretty good channel. It gets a little long-winded. It goes a little too deep for me, but I'm going to play a segment here. It's a good channel still. It covers a lot of stuff. This is a story where the boomerang is in effect. Legislation that Biden had passed is now boomeranging on him, and it's not working in the Biden administration's favor. I'll play a snippet just so you get a sense of what is going on there. Okay, because even the language, Trump waives Biden privilege in an ultimate payback. Give a little thumbs up. Let's go big. Let's play. Roll the tape. Roll the tape.
Underlying his decision on executive privilege, Trump has determined that he will not assert immunity to preclude you from testifying before them either. I had no experience in the White House that would provide any reason to question his command as president. He was in charge.
The possibility is there that there were deep state bureaucrats in the White House that were just using that autopin to sign major legislation and major executive orders that Joe Biden had no knowledge of and never would have supported if you look at his previous 3 decades of public service.
Oh, how the tables have turned.
All right. So the story there, and actually I've got the link here for everybody. Boom, boom, boom. So you can go watch that in its entirety, but you get the sense of what's going on. So the tables have turned because, and this is why Steve Bannon was thrown in the clinker for a while, because he wasn't allowed to have immunity. They demanded that he show up. He said, there's no way I'm going in front of your kangaroo court. Fuck y'all. And they threw him in jail for a few months, okay? Half a year or something. I don't know how long he was in there, but Bannon was in there. The Dems threw a couple more Republicans in there. They did their time. They're out for contempt of Congress. So now, because Biden had signed an executive order saying you cannot excuse yourself. You cannot use executive privilege to avoid standing before our intel committees, right? So we have an investigative panel established. We want to look in there. And hold on, Herc, this is the worst comment. I mean, come on, man. Can you replace Blake with Psycho Platter? Psycho Platter's another guy in the vinyl community, just a character. But anyway, here's what Gouvier is saying, is that because Biden created this law that basically you cannot use executive order as a defense to avoid appearing before Congress, Trump is now saying you have no right of refusal. You've got to show up. Basically, Trump has said, my hands are off. We're not going to extend a presidential immunity or executive privilege. We're not extending it to this individual who was part of the Biden administration. So she's going to have to appear. There's a lot of talk about the mental incompetence, and it becomes a joke now. It's so obvious. There's one with Biden. Have you seen the one where he's at they're at some sort of meeting? Biden's just, he's in
a vegetative state almost.
The lights are on, but nobody's home. He's just gone. And it's like watching Herc at an exciting Sarah Tomato broadcast. When he sees Sarah up there, he got to go, he feels the thrust of manhood. But anyway, holy smokes. The point is that they aren't able to use executive privilege as defense. So this is going to work in Trump's favor because we're getting a lot of people. Remember Maureen Kien-Jer or whoever that woman, I believe she also was of a Pride persuasion.
Yeah.
And she's doing a book, says the guy was out of his mind. She goes, I don't know what the hell was going on there. He wasn't there, but he wasn't running anything. So we got that. And then it was like they want to call Jill Biden's chief of staff, not Joe Biden's chief of staff, Jill Biden's chief of staff. Jill's got one too. Who the hell was running that White House?
Well,
Who signed the pen? Go ahead.
Well, I remember Jill getting really upset at the time when they basically shoved Biden out the door and they put Kamala in. So the people who are doing the auto pen are the same people who did that because apparently Jill Biden was really upset about that. And that was a big internal squabble. But again, we're going by, reports from people leaking these battles that were happening inside. But if Jill Biden wasn't the second in command as they were trying to claim she was, that she was basically running the Biden show, but she wasn't. There's no way, or else he would still be president and he would have went into he wouldn't be president. He wouldn't have won. But my point is he would have been still running in 2024 if she had her way. But the reality is that those that are in control of the auto pen, those who are calling the shots said, Biden, you're out. We're in. But here's the scary thing. He's out and they're still running that pen. So what did they sign executive orders for? What did they do? Did they authorize monetary benefits to themselves through payments? I mean, there's all kinds of investigation that has to go into that. So hopefully this blows the lid off of it. What's good, it's interesting, is that they're all pointing fingers at each other now, right? They're all like, that's what happens. The rats who are leaving the sinking ship, are now pointing to the captain. There's the captain. It's that person that's responsible. It wasn't me. I was just following orders. And hopefully this whole thing blows up in the right direction.
I hope so. It does. Speaking of things blowing up in the right direction, remember this little moment? This is just an absolute classic. Sarah, you remind me of the bright lights. Let's get some bright lights.
Ooh, the flowers. The flowers.
Holy smokes. Look at that. Wow. Holy smokks. It's just and the rockets red glare.
The acid flashbacks glare.
Listen to destiny, say grace. I pledge allegiance to the United States, so the blessing. Say the blessing. Holy smokes, just crazy. But this is it. The bright lights going on. The lights aren't on, but the disco ball's running wild up here. Holy smoke. Absolutely crazy. Rachel, I just told everyone. Okay, hold on. This is a break one. You promised an emergency Patreons in 8 minutes. 8 minutes. Hold on. We're still working here on the show. This is our big show. But we'll see how much material we got, right? We only go as long.
I think Loki's he's trying to apply for the position as Mr. Producer.
Okay. Boy, we got a lot of stuff. Okay. Well, I mean, is this even worth covering? Just some guy in Toronto, maybe Vancouver, but his house, his land tax on the house just went through the roof, and he put out a post on the Instagram or on the X platform and said, "I can't believe it."
Can we put this under the "you'll own nothing and be happy" files?
Yeah, it's that whole freaking thing all over again. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. It really is. And I've said this before, it's like the Three Little Pigs. Sue and I lived in one of the most expensive areas of town in Victoria, Oak Bay, Primo Real Estate, just off Beach Drive. So you got to, where Sue lived in that little area.
Called the little Hamlet cottages.
The little art Art Deco kind of, or not Art Deco, they were craft cottages. Anyway,
they were
point
unique.
is, like we couldn't afford to pay the land tax over time. It would have eroded, and we couldn't afford in the long term to stay there. So we sold in the inheritance. We sold ours. Then we went to Sydney and got a little humble house in Sydney, a 3-bedroom thing. And one story, it was a rancher. We're not talking 2 or 3 stories, a humble little rancher. But the land taxes there started going so high that we moved out of there. And now we're in this mobile home park, so we don't really own the land anymore. We can't even own land, basically, because of taxes. But it's an affordable rental, if you will. We own the carriage, And if we become the 51st state, I'll just hitch it up and I'll just hang out with Sarah in her backyard out in the northeast U.S. But
well, let's see what happens, because there is. I mean, now that Carney is hitched his horse to the EU and is bringing Canada into the EU without Canada's permission. Which could be a whole other topic. I'm sure you might get lined up next, but there is the silent topic going on when the war in Iran was breaking out. Meanwhile, Carney's quickly trying to anchor in deals to bring the EU to America's border. I mean, that's essentially what he's saying. The Great Reset.
There's going to be kickback from the United States on this. There's no way this is going to be allowed to fly.
There'll be kickback in Canada. Right. That's the thing. And just to go back to what you're talking about, we just, in our area alone, we've seen a 43% property tax increase over 3 years. Before that, we had a great 43%. It's unreal. And this is something that's happening in a lot of governments, municipal. I saw a guy on X. I can't remember his name. Anyways, he posted up there and he asked a question. Everybody is, has your services increased anywhere? All your property taxes have gone up just astronomically. And everybody, of course, repeats, no, nothing's changed. No extra services, like I'm not getting anything extra, but I'm paying more for the same thing. And, but what's interesting is most of these governments are all progressive governments. So progressives, all of you progressive lefties out there. So when you're running around going, means you want to make things life more affordable. You want to be fair to the working poor, and you want to be fair. Then why the heck do your people, your progressive lefties, take over government and taxes skyrocket through the roof for everybody?
So obviously this is meant to destroy the middle class. They're being very effective.
Absolutely.
Say what you will about these commies, and God bless you commies out there watching this show right now. I know Loki's there and Herc and all you commies. But they are very successful in destroying the middle class. And it's not a case where we bring all your needy, your hungry, the people from the third world and load them up, and we'll raise them up to the standards of the dominant culture here. No, we're going to lower the dominant culture so that you're all in hovels. You're all sitting around, barely able to read a street sign.
Exactly. Well, and I think it's all part of that great reset. You own nothing and be happy. So they're just financially going to the slow boiling frog in the water until you can't afford to be there anymore and you're forced to sell out of your own home. And I think that's where it's happening.
Listen, you sons of bitches, I am fed up. This is your last warning. I can't believe it. Why is blank? Well, first of all, there's Blake holding his microphone. What happened to his mic stand? Rachel, this is a preferred means of communication. This is Blake style. We saw it work very effectively with Alex. Remember Alex in the vinyl community? Alex would have the microphone. He won the Golden Mic at the Ghosty Awards.
I could have it like Lemmy Kilminster, if that helps. Ace of Spades.
Ace of Spades, kids. Holy smokes. And then you got, anyway, the whole point. The stand keeps saying it's a swamp. It's not a swamp. It's a beautiful Nanaimo River. Okay? It's a beautiful freshwater river with a trout in it even.
Trout, minerals,
salmon.
Gold, fresh, clear. Not the cesspool you might see around a blue state.
Yeah,
area,
yeah. It's not like California. Okay, holy smokes. He holds the mic. Don't listen. Hold on there. Don't. Blake is Blake is many things. He's not a sissy. Boy, them's fighting words. Boy, oh boy. Herc, you don't want to be doing that. If I ever get a hold of you, I'll put you in a famous Indian leg lock. Okay? Only but another Indian can beat me at leg locking. Even with my bad knee, I'd take you out. There's no doubt about it. I have an advantage with my Indian leg locking to the skills.
Careful that you might get a man thrust out of that.
All right. Now listen, Loki. Okay, I got to tell Loki something. Loki, you know what? Scoozy is not here. Do you want me to do a Patreon? Because Susie's not here. So if you want me to go and start a Patreon anyway, let me know. Otherwise, we can defer to another day where you'll get full Scoozy. Scoozy's out at a doctor's appointment. Okay. All right. Let's see what Loki says. Anyway, everybody, please subscribe to Sarah's channel. It's absolutely fantastic. Great topics, great conversation, and a lot of big name guests she has up there. Why does Loki defer to name calling when he's outmatched intellectually? It's very 5th grade. What's next? Hair pulling? I don't mind the hair pulling so much as I mind my bra strapping. Don't be doing that. Holy smokes. Let's find out what Loki has to say. Blake, we're going to be back tomorrow, obviously. Scoozy's Ghost. Absolutely. We love Scoozy. But Blake, tomorrow, 12 noon, we're going to be back with the Political Nooner. By that time, we'll have the Hesketh conference will have been done. We'll have an even more secure picture. But I think there's a lot of confidence coming out of the Trump administration right now regarding strike on Iran. It looks like a 1-2-3 knockout. You got a couple of links in here that you're working with?
Something just popped up. It says Liz Collin on the suspected Minnesota assassin wearing a rubber face mask while posing as a police officer.
Okay, what the fuck? Okay, let's take a look.
You got this is just Tucker Carlson Network.
Okay.
It's just posted this. Just came up 8 minutes ago. There's a little interview about 2 minutes long or 2.5 minutes long about it.
Breaking news.
Ooh, this is kind of creepy.
Okay,
looks like Michael Myers kind of.
Okay, well, here's Tucker. Okay, so Liz Collin on the suspected Minnesota assassin wearing a rubber face mask. Oh, yeah, the guy, the assassin. This is that whole thing with the Democrats were killed by this Democrat guy. He said that Tim Walz had requested that he take out Amy Klobuchar in some sort of dem-on-dem crime spree. Sounds absolutely horrific. Well, let's see what Tucker's found out here.
In your state of a couple Democratic lawmakers. There's lying around it. What's the truth?
It's Saturday, June 14th, 2 a.m, and this shooting spree begins. Vance Belter is the man who is charged now with the assassination of Melissa Hortman and her husband, Mark. What we know is that he first arrives at Senator John Hoffman's home, the home he shares with his wife, Yvette. Their adult daughter happens to be in town during this, and Belter is dressed as a police officer. He's wearing also a latex mask. He has a flashlight, arrives at their door saying, "Police, open up." He's shouting. It's very chaotic, and basically this is
2 a.m?
2 a.m.
Man.
They open their door to him, and he starts shooting. Senator Hoffman is hit multiple times. His wife hit multiple times. His daughter heroically calls 911, tells the police it's Senator Hoffman that's been shot. And this, in a way, I think sends a message to the rest of the surrounding agencies that this could have something to do with legislators, or perhaps people are being targeted, to look for this person, obviously. We know now that Belter stops at 2 more homes, legislators that are not home. At one point, he encounters a police officer in New Hope. That officer actually approaches his vehicle. He is in a vehicle that looks like a squad car, an SUV squad car. Goes so far as to outfit it with police lettering actually on the license plate. It says police on the license plate. A light bar, all the things you would look for in a squad. This New Hope officer rolls up next to him. He is looking straight ahead and does not, acknowledge the officer at all. She then rolls her window up and continues on to this lawmaker's home. So there's some questions about how was he not apprehended in that moment. This is when he then continues to the former House Speaker, DFL House Speaker Melissa Hortman's home. At this point, the police catch up to him, the Brooklyn Park Police Department. They are doing a welfare check basically on the Hortman home, saying, she doesn't live that far away. We should go to the Speaker Emerita Melissa Hortman's home. And they get there, shots ring out, but from what we understand, between the police and Belter, somehow Belter still gets inside the Hortman home. Mark is killed, and then they find Melissa's body inside the home as well later on.
So the police are there for the shooting?
They are.
So how did he get away?
Still a lot of questions about that.
Like what?
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, this whole thing. Now, this story has disappeared because the guy sent a letter to the FBI saying that Tim Walz wanted him to kill Amy Klobuchar, Senator Klobuchar, in order that Tim Walz could somehow stop being governor and become a senator, take over Amy's seat. This is just the kind of nonsense that Democrats do come up with. Loki Herc is very guilty of this kind of nonsense talk. Herc, you've got to do better. It's okay, Herc. I understand that you struggle to reconcile my impeccable taste in music with my, quote, problematic worldview. You have no problematic worldview. Pat, you've got a beautiful worldview. Pat's a fellow I've met on numerous occasions. He's a gentleman. He's a scholar. And he's got a hell of a stereo system, kids. So, Loki, what's going on? Do you kids want me to entertain you for a little bit, or what's going on? Let me know. Or do I get to go and live my civilian life with dear Scoozy? And we're going to watch this thing, Phantom Thread. Thanks to Marty in Oregon for helping us out with that. I hear you're going to do an emergency Patreon. I might if Loki really demands it. Well, I'll do it. This is a thing. Except Chauncey's in the shower. Holy smoke. It's hard to get all your ducks in a row.
Yeah.
I'm going to grant you the use of deferring in terms of the context it used. It didn't roll off the tongue quite right, but I didn't want to waste the emotion. I stand corrected. Can Chauncey come up from the shower? Well, if he wants to feel the thrust of manhood, he just might wanna. Holy smokes! That is.
I think you need a new the Nancy Pelosi clap of condescension, and now the new award for somebody who gets the thrust of manhood. That's a great one.
Well, I talk about, they're good kids. They're good. My philosophy, Blake, there's no such thing as a bad boy. It's like Father O'Reilly or whatever from Boys Town. He's got little Mickey Rooney there. There's no such thing as a bad boy. And the little kids in Boys Town are all trying to be happy, and they're all scragamuffins, kind of like Loki. I'm trying to ascertain demand, Rachel, but you know how it is. I do know how it is. It's like herding cats. Not always easy. But holy smokes. Anything else you'd like to add?
I think there's some information we've now, this is going under the local files for where we live. British Columbia hits a new low as we've now hit the highest number of deaths from opioid deaths in this past month. So apparently we are still trending high of everybody dying from fentanyl crisis in BC. And again, this is the reason why this is more probably sensitive here in British Columbia is because the government is actually providing drugs to these people. They are the dealers, and that's why EB is now being jokingly, and I didn't see that. Really, it's not funny, but they're calling him Escobar EB. I mean, he's turned our province into a death knell for people that are addicted to opioids. It's a nightmare. But apparently 5 people a day died in the month of May.
Yeah, it's terrific. It's a crisis. It's out of control. And you're so right. The government policy of making it so easy, rather than fighting against these drugs and getting these kids into proper treatment, they're saying, hey, come on up to a window. We'll supply a needle for you. And whatever. I don't know if they're giving them heroin or what the hell they're feeding these kids.
Well, they could actually, and then there was a news story that just came out in the last couple of days where they were caught creating propaganda material about meth, cocaine, fentanyl drugs that were being handed out to school children as in colorful, positive type of messaging. And a lady finally stood up and did a whistleblow on it and got caught. The government got caught on this. And it just seems like they don't care. But what's exciting is I'm looking at a new poll for British Columbia. It just came out from Main Street Research today. If a provincial election were held today, how would you vote? This is for British Columbia. 38% BC Conservative, 36 NDP. So the tables are turning, and we have rumors we may go to a fall election here this year because they're hanging on with the 47 seats with the tying vote going to the speaker. This is again in the British Columbia legislature. So one NDP, do you hear that, NDP? One of you needs to become normal and stop supporting the insanity and our China premier, David Eby, who is completely compromised by the Chinese communists. So let's see some changes here in British Columbia. Maybe it's coming. I mean, it's just piling on. It's a disaster. They were running a propaganda piece yesterday that they're out advertising to all of the thousands of I don't know what you call them, dissidents from U.S. that are in the healthcare worker field, don't like Trump, are just going to uproot and leave.
Oh, yeah, that's not going to go down either.
They haven't produced one receipt that there's these thousands of Democrat
we don't pay them
doctors pouring in here.
We don't pay them enough. If they come here, they aren't going to have enough to make a decent living. They'll quickly grow very dissatisfied. And if they've got an ounce of sense, if they're liberals, they won't though. So.
Well, and I had commented on this is what they put up. I'll give you the link. You want to show everybody, but this is how ridiculous our local government is when you have a progressive hellscape. This is the kind of propaganda you get to see in a communist regime. So go ahead and click on that link and show it. But yeah, since March, I'll let you bring it up and then we'll read it real quick.
I'll let you take the lead on this one. Okay, so here's the story. Make it bigger, probably. Hang on, let me make it big so Blake can see it and everything. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, just scroll it down a little bit and you can see.
Okay, the headline is BC NDP, right? Look at the rainbow and all this bullshit.
Yeah.
More doctors, nurses in BC, better faster care for you and your family, working towards it every day. Okay.
So there you go. Did you know since March, we've connected with more than 1,600 American health professionals, including 714 doctors and 554 nurses who've expressed interest in moving to BC. They've been pushing this narrative now for a number of months. And I posted, if you scroll down, I don't know if I show up right away, but I can see it.
There's Blake McKenzie.
Yeah, there I am right at the top.
Holy smokes.
They haven't got one to show that they've encouraged to move here. And this is progressive propaganda for you. They thought that because Trump was elected that we would be steamrolled with all of these American health professionals escaping Trump to come here. Why would they come here where they make half the money, pay double the taxes? But there you go. There's the story. This is how propaganda works. And my whole point is show me the receipts. Just quit lying, quit telling people. If you've brought these doctors, show them how many of you actually brought. Zero.
I love this comment. Rachel, several people have, speaking of propaganda, Blake, Rachel, several people have offered to, quote, rejoin Patreon if you ditch blank and start Patreon right now. Holy stuff. It brings a tear to my eye. Sorry, we can't. We're not ditching Blake. We love Blake.
Let's stay on for another hour just for the hell of it. Just for Loki.
Oh, see my head. Wait a minute. We got
damn the torpedoes.
There there are. I mean, there's so many stories out there going out.
Yeah.
In this world of ours, we never lack for a want of content with this stuff. But seriously, if you really do want a Patreon, I'll happily do a show for you. But maybe not happily. My knee's kind of bugging me. But how about tomorrow? Tomorrow might be better. Hey, did I just hear crackling again? Yeah, my knee's crackling knee. Holy smokes! So tomorrow at noon we'll be back. We'll do the whole thing.
We'll have some news about the big announcement. Hopefully, there's something going on that's huge in the Middle East.
Yeah, and the Abraham Accord, and also, of course, we're going to get confirmation with more updated information on exactly what happened with that strike. Here is my email. I have no fear in sharing it. Chrysalid@Shaw. Loki, drop me an email. Okay. Yes, Michael, we're about to do Patreon. Okay. We'll do a Patreon. Blake, thank you so much for all the help and a great show. And I couldn't have asked for a better co-host for Ghost Town Politics. We have a lot of fun. We'll be back tomorrow, 12 noon. We'll do the political dinner. All right, everybody. That'll do it for now. And stay tuned. Give me about 5 minutes because I got to go set it up and create it there, Patreon people. And I'll meet you over there. All right. Bye for now. Like and subscribe to the program. Thank you.